Well, son of a gun, you just lost me, didn't you? See, this is why I shouldn't be allowed to handle technology.
John, we got
So,
you.
what I wanted to do tonight was talk about beers that we would drink during the fall. So I've got two tonight. I'm going to share with you. Imperial Three Blind Mice, 9.6%, 38 used from Mothers, and then I also have their bourbon barrel version of the same beer, 10.5%, 38 IBUs. Now I'll go into tasting notes later, and I'll introduce the rest of my panel. But I first want to kick it over to John, the brew guru Starodumsky, to do the history for our group.
Tom, thanks for that. Basically, we've done this before. Last year I think we did a winter beers panel review session, whatever you want to call it, group review. But to give a little recap of the styles that, how the style got started, we covered that then, so I won't go into it at length. But Samuel Adams has a pretty good and interesting commercial. I don't know if you guys have seen it on right now about seasonal beers, and they kind of they talk about how people like a light, crisp beer in the spring and a refreshing beer in the hot weather, a hearty Oktoberfest in the fall, and then they reference their winter lager as a warming, a little bit higher alcohol spice beer for the winter months. The way I always think of winter seasonal beers is the classic German Weihnachts beer. Germans do double box and strong beers for the cold weather. But there's lots of different beers that different German brewers do for the holidays, as we'll see in a minute. And of course, the tradition of English Christmas ale here in the U.S. My recollection goes back to Anchor Christmas Ale. What's more American winter Christmas beer than Anchor Christmas Ale? I can't think of anything. I think 1975 was the first year they rolled it out. It's been slightly tweaked, the recipe, ever since, and really it's a classic. I recall back to drinking Hope Christmas Ale, back in Rhode Island, back in probably '88 or so, and really lots of brewers have done their version since then, and it's really exploded. Everybody's got their own winter seasonal Christmas ale going on right now. So I think that kind of sets the stage of what to expect. Tom's already talked about a couple of the beers. I think, Tom, you mentioned what you're going to talk about, and I think I'll let everybody else touch on the beers they're going to talk about tonight. So I'll go on over to Dale since he's next on the screen.
All right. I'm Dale, and I've got my standalone favorite, my Upslope Christmas Ale, and this year they put it out in 12-ounce cans, which I'm really excited about. And just prior to this meeting going live on the air, I was up at Upslope, and they just put out a barrel-aged wild Christmas ale. They aged this for 10 months in the Leopold rye whiskey barrels, and then add a little of their in-house sour culture. So it is fantastic. I had it at the tap room. So, but this beer, they kind of brewed it by accident and became it's kind of a Bell style. So, but not quite, the full Belgian. But it's a very good one, and it does what it's supposed to do, kind of hearty but warming. So that's kind of what I've got going on tonight.
All right, Scott, what are you drinking, sir?
I decided, as a big Sam Adams fan as myself, but I do have the winter lager sitting here. I brought out a few examples, but this evening I went ahead with a brand new bottled release from Fatheads. It is called Pimp My Sleigh.
Oh, right up.
This is a Belgian-style Christmas ale. Upon the drink, I mean, you look at it, it just looks like a nice Belgian strong dark ale. It's got all those dark Belgian flavors, raisins, dates, figs. It's a little got that, like, what do you want to call it? Belgian candy sugar up in it, but it's also got the Christmas spices to it as well. This one clocks in at 10.5%. It's actually very, very drinkable. I mean, you don't get the heat from it. You get the Belgian yeast from it, and you get some like cinnamon and ginger kind of like heat as it goes down the back into your throat. But yeah, just to throw it out there, as many styles that we have for Christmas ales or the winter warmers, I mean, they're all over the place. So how can you actually choose which that you would want? I mean, it's like you want to grab them all and try at least whatever you can get in your neck of the woods.
So Red, let me ask you a question. Since you know a lot about beer history, as far as the Christmas styles that we drink today, is this mostly an American craft revolution, or is there some history involved there?
I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about.
Well, John mentioned the Anchor Christmas. Is what we drink today as our great craft winter warmers? Is this a kind of an American craft, invention, or are there historic examples?
Oh, no, not at all. It's not an American invention. Of course, it's a European tradition going back centuries. And not just in Britain, but also in Germany, in Poland, in Finland, in Sweden. I mean, all over Europe, you find these beers that were brewed up for holiday beers. John mentioned the Weihnachts beer, which is a Christmas Bock beer that's a tradition in Germany. I know in Norway, I think we touched on this last year, the Norwegians have a tradition with Yule Ole, it's called. It's a very good malty beer style. Of course, all the winter warmers and spiced, beers from England, particularly, those ales that had spices in it and that type of thing. So there's a very, very long tradition of Christmas beers. In the United States, it goes way back as well. We see Ballantine Burton Ale finally coming back after, being gone for what? How long? Since the last time it was brewed was in the 1950s. Yeah. So that one's back, and that was a Christmas beer that was brewed at the Ballantine Brewery in Newark, New Jersey. It could be probably called a hoppy barley wine or an old ale at the time because there was nothing like it. It was, aged in oak from anywhere from 7 to 20 years. It wasn't sold to the public. It was given as Christmas gifts to friends of the brewery. So we have a very long tradition even here in the United States. Anchor really was the one that started again, I guess, with our special ale, but it's been going on for a very long time.
And that's what I wanted to get to. I wanted to get that part in this conversation. So tell us what you're drinking.
Well, I went a little different this year. I went and got myself a Dunkelweizen, but it's a Dunkelweizen that is brewed with peaches and pecans, and it's from Shiner, and it's called Holiday Cheer. It's been out now, I guess, about 5 or 6 years, maybe a couple more. But I really like this one because it has a very good, malty palate. It's refreshing, though. The peaches really bring out a little bit of sourness, a little bit of sweetness. You get a little nuttiness in it from the pecans. It's just an all-around very, very drinkable beer, very food-friendly beer, very good Christmas beer. It puts you in the spirit. I enjoy it very much. It's become one of my go-to Christmas ales that I get every year now.
Right on. That sounds great. So I didn't go into any flavors. What I'm doing here, I just told you I popped the two, and I build this, whatever we do here, as discussion, review, and commentary. So we're not just limited to a beer review. We're talking about the history. We're talking about everything about the beers. I went with two local, the same. I went with Mother's, but they're Imperial 3 Blind Mice, a Guinness 9.6, 38 IBUs, and version, which is 10.5, 38. And the interesting thing about the barrel-aged version is that the original beer is still intact, but then you've got those added whiskey notes to it, which for me is beautiful. But if you're not a whiskey guy like Mr. Dale over there, it may not work for you. But then again, Dale sent me some great whiskey, other beers that I know if he doesn't like them, I don't even want to talk to him anymore.
Yeah.
Just out of the park.
Times change, Tom. Times change.
I'm gonna find a bottle of this bourbon barrel to send to Dale just to try to change his mind. That knucklehead sent me was out of. Oh man, it was just crazy. So what I like to do now, we've all kind of talked about our beers. So I'm going to flip it around the room to each and every one of you to say whatever you want to say. I'm not going to limit it to any topic. Talk about the beer, talk about social media, talk about the holiday, talk about whatever you want to for a minute or
Well,
two.
before that, Tom, I haven't talked about my beer yet. I talked a little bit about.
John, I thought you did.
Yeah.
My bad.
It's okay. And before I do, I just want to elaborate on,
Right on.
when we talk about these beers in the tradition of winter and Christmas beers, think about what we celebrate at the holidays and what we celebrate with, and it's food and drink, right? And if you think about, it's not just beer, it's wine, it's food. Think about plum pudding in England, or Stollen cake in Germany, or Italian Christmas cookies, or whatever you have. We tend to celebrate with something special. And again, it can be beer, it can be wine, and it could be hard liquor, whatever. But I think what the key is, we like to have something special for a special occasion. And Christmas beers and winter beers, they're all over the place today, and that's where I'm leading to with what I want to talk about, because normally I'll tell you, I don't like to drink them before Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is to me, we put our lights up, and usually that weekend we put our tree up, and for us that's the official start of the Christmas season, and that's when I really like to start the Christmas beers. The Friday after. This year I went to Taco Mac, and I enjoyed my first taste of this year's Anchor Christmas Ale, our special ale, which was fantastic. I had a Samuel Adams Merrymaker, a Rogue Santa's Private Reserve, and I sort of been, it's been hard to keep out of the Christmas beer since then. But what I have right now this year is something that's not even really, a traditional Christmas ale, but I've got this. I've been actually hard pressed to wait on this, but this is pretty cool. It's an Advent calendar, and of course, if you know what those are, you pop a door open each day, starting December 1st up to Christmas. And it was tough for me to wait because these are 24 different German beers from 24 different German breweries, and you can't get them here in the U.S. And I've been wanting to try them. So for my beer, this is the first one I popped. It's from the Alpine Brauerei Bürgerbrau. It's the Alpenstoff, which is a full beer, or it's sort of a Dortmunder export, malty, hoppy. It's really a delicious beer, and it's not your traditional Christmas beer, but I think when you're celebrating the holidays, and if you're having a different German beer a day for 24 days, to me it was a great way to start. So that's the beer I'm toasting tonight with. So.
So I'm going to actually flip it back to Dale, because now I realize that I didn't let him give tasting notes either. He told us what beer he was drinking, but he didn't give us some tasting notes. So let's flip it back over there.
Yeah, that's all right, Tom. The this beer that I've got, it's 8.2%, and like I said, it is a in the Dubel style. It's got that dark Belgian candied syrup added to it, and it really is a special one. I know this is one I sent to all of you guys a couple years ago, because I'm so fanatical about this beer in particular, even from this brewery. You get all of that just good stuff, though. It's just it gets that Abbey style going, and Belgian thing where. And so then when the spices mix in, it just kind of makes it's hearty, it feels good, and and now I tried when I went over to the brewery today, because they released the one that they barrel aged, and I wasn't even gonna drink one, but the guy just poured it when I walked through the door, so I was like, okay. And you know, it was very cool because it's you didn't get a lot of the I probably didn't get a lot. I got to drink one where it's gonna warm up to see if the whiskey and that rye whiskey comes out. But I did get, you know, the sour that they put on it, and then as it finished, it went back to the original beer. But it does come in at a 1% higher at 9.2. So, you know, sitting there in the barrel for 10 months did some good to it. So.
Dale, I remember when you sent us that, and I was very impressed. Very toasty, nutty, nice chocolatey, yeasty Belgian notes going on. It was a very good.
Right.
I think what you're drinking is a little bit different version, but I was very grateful to get that. It
kind of evolves every year. You know, and that's so. But in this year, they moved it to the 12-ounce can, and I don't know. That may have something to do with it. You know, they claim that the recipe doesn't change, but who knows? You know, you brew it once a year. You know, somebody might have forgot a step. Who knows? You know.
It was great, and I got to say that Tom Brady behind me, he thought it was great too.
I'm sure he did.
John is now cut off from the rest of the discussion. For that famous plug. Hey, I want to flip it over to damn. So Scott, give us your commentary tonight.
Well, for any type of commentary, I mean, as coming in as like the youngest player in the field here, the Christmas beers to me are let me start this. The American Christmas beers they're very good, but there are some that overspice them. I mean, I do not like to catch a spice bomb. I don't know if this whole seasonal thing, it comes from, you know, the Thanksgiving, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. They all tend to have the same spices: cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, clove, allspice, and it's just like you guys use such an abundance of them that it's almost too much. So what I'm saying is that I like to go through and find out which ones are the winter warmers, which ones considered to be the Christmas style beers. I like to find out which one of them, how do I want to say this, would represent the style, but at the same time have those spice notes in them that are not overwhelming, but are subtle enough that you can enjoy the beer.
Scott, I'll add, not to interrupt you, but I remember when Samuel Adams Winter Lager first came out, mid-'80s, I want to say 85. So it was not spiced. It was described as a wheat bock winter lager, and I still to this day prefer that non-spiced version. I like what they do today, but I think it was a better beer before they spiced it to this point.
I do agree with that. I've heard countless of people. I was not, of course, not old enough to drink it or even remember that version of it. But at the same time, I've heard countless of people say that they would like it to go back to the non-spice version.
Right on. So let me flip it back over to Red. What are your kind of punch thoughts about holiday and winter beers?
Well, I think it's great. I look forward to this season every year because I like the variety. I think we touched on this last year that there is so much quality and variety, so you really can't go wrong because your choices are just, you know, so many. I like what Scott just said about the Dunkelweiss, and that Sam Adams had this Dunkelweiss, because the one I'm drinking right now, the Shiner Holiday Cheer, is a Dunkelweiss, but it isn't spiced. It's got the peaches and pecans, so that's done a little different. And I'm really enjoying this beer very much. I really like the peach character in it. It's not sweet. It's sour. It's a touch sweet. It really adds to the aroma. The flavor is great. This is just a wonderful Christmas beer to start with. But I like the spice bombs. I like the Bock beers. I like to try all the different ones every Christmas season. So it's a great time of the year if you love beer.
Yeah, I agree. Ray, this is one for you. I'm a guy that likes style and beers that fall into a particular style. But winter warmers, holiday beers, I mean, they're all over the place.
Uh-oh.
I can't knock the camera down.
Damn cat.
So I guess the question was, you know, is there too much? Can a brewery go too far as a Christmas?
Yes. And if you want me to elaborate on it, I will. I mean, I've had. Let me put this into perspective. And any of the beers that I've had throughout the years, you can do it overspiced. I mean, there is way overspiced. I mean, I've had an example. I had a beer the other night. I can't remember off the top of my head which beer it was. It's supposed to be a Christmas style beer, but as I'm drinking it, it started to get so hot at the back end of your palate, your throat. It's like it almost burns you with the amount of cinnamon and the nutmeg. I'm like, okay, I get the point, but at the same time, you need to back it down. I mean, I do enjoy the spice notes. I do enjoy the beer flavor itself. But at the same time, I mean, I don't want all these breweries coming out with all these, beers that are supposed to be enjoyable for the holiday season to end up being overspiced to the point where it's not so enjoyable.
That's a valid point. I mean, you're right. There are some breweries that do go a little overboard, but that's pretty common. I mean, they do the same thing with the pumpkin ales. I mean, everybody brews a pumpkin ale seems to do the exact same blueprint, exact same recipe. So it's just, I guess, a part of what I think brewers think the public wants. I mean, these spice beers are out there. They've been out there, so they figured let's do one and let's, put in cloves, cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, which again I enjoy, but yeah, it can be a bit too much for some people.
And that, I mean, you appreciate when you get something that's a little different. And case in point, tonight I had from Sweetwater, not Sweetwater, but Red Brick, really the original, the oldest operating craft brewer here in Georgia. And I had a sweet potato beer. It was a brown ale with sweet potatoes, brown sugar, got some ginger notes in it too, but it really did taste more like sweet potato pie, which is popular down here, than pumpkin pie. So, I think the spice, I get the point about the spices, but when you get something that, is a little bit different and pops in a different way, you really appreciate that. And the beer was actually good today.
Pony River Woods does a easy good ale. So yeah, I see where John's going. So I'm going to board one more time and closing notes. So we'll wrap this up in about 30 minutes. I'm going to start with Dale.
All right. Well, just in going into the theme of the season, I got a bunch of favorites that I like, and talking into that spice thing. Avery's Winter Ale doesn't have a lot of spice. It's just a big old, strong ale, kind of old ale, and it just kind of hits you good and makes you feel good. And that's really what this season is. And I know a lot of people just automatically shift to stout season, but sometimes you just got to have a little bit of extra flavors going on or something different. So that's where I definitely fall in. It's all about all the other things, all the foods. My mother-in-law, she introduced me to this recipe she's made for years and years and years called the Neiman Marcus cookies, and for whatever reason, I used to I'd grab them and they're amazing. There's apparently 100 ingredients in the cookies, and they're really hard when she would like bring them to me. So I put them in my pockets of my jeans and walk around, and I'd be, at our gatherings with our family, I'm pulling cookies out of my pocket, and they're like, "Where the heck did that come from?" And I'm like, "In my pocket." But what happened is that they would get warm, and then as an extra effect, these Neiman Marcus, which have little chocolate chips in them, they go great with beer. I mean, they as a cookie, they go. It's not even funny how good they go with beer. So, that's what the holiday beers and this season of beers means to me, is that I got cookies in my pockets and great beer to drink. So,
so John, I'm going to go back.
It really was. That was like that was like so good. Because it's so different from people. Oh, that was great.
You're
Hey, I'm up, Tom?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
how can you beat the pocket cookie? I was going to go to
it's
him.
hard. You can, and you know what? But Christmas is something that's personal, and the holidays are essential to everybody, and it's because we all grew up, in a different way, and the reason why that story resonated so much is because I thought about, the things that we do, Christmas Eve, and we would have guests over, and my mom would cook, and we'd have all this little finger food, and cocktails, and French Canadian pork pies, and and then we'd get up in the morning, and my dad would fill our stockings with some oranges and stuff like that. But that's what it is, and I think that one thing that always impresses me, I understand why brewers, they make this seasonal beers, they call them winter lager, or, winter ale, because they want to sell them back to Christmas season into January and February. It started out as, like we started this whole thing talking about Weihnachts beer, which is German for Christmas beer, and English Christmas ale, and I have a lot of respect for brewers that still call it a Christmas or a Christmas beer, because to me that's how it all started, and you shouldn't be afraid. You shouldn't be too politically correct. Christmas ale.
Absolutely.
So that's I'll leave off.
Hey, what happened? I lost you guys.
Oh, we're
I
here.
lost the audio. Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, we're all hearing. Scott, go
Okay.
ahead.
I press it back to Tom.
So toss it to Red. Let him give us parting shots.
There you go.
Okay. Well, like I was saying, I just really enjoyed this time of year as a beer drinker because of the quality and variety. I like all these seasonal beers. I think I would just suggest anybody that's really getting into it now, just, go with the singles at first, see what you like, try everything. It doesn't have to be necessarily a spiced ale. Go with a Bach beer, go with an old ale, a barley wine, whatever you seem to like. But that's the thing, is there's a lot of them out there. There's a lot to try, so try them all.
Okay, guys, this thing up. I think we're going to wrap this. Can anybody still hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Let's wrap this thing up. I want to thank all my panel for joining me tonight. I wish I could have done it smoother, but apparently I have no idea what I'm doing. But anyway, thank you all. Enjoy your Christmas beers, and we'll be back.
And Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Merry Christmas.